Selamat pagi semua. Can you all
Selamat
hear
pagi.
me?
Selamat pagi.
Bisa dengar ya?
Iya, bisa.
Bisa.
First, I'd like to thank and appreciate distinguished Toastmaster Ronawati for organizing the Speechcraft session. To me, Rona, in the past years, she was very active in helping the community to learn and to master the communication skill, because we need to communicate with our parents at home, with our family members, with our spouse, with our co-workers in the office, as well as communicate with God. Particularly, this is the month of Bulan Ramadan. I know a lot of my Muslim friends are praying unceasingly throughout the Bulan Ramadan. So how do we communicate with God? Rona has given me the topic on speech evaluation. And how do we evaluate a speech? And that is very important, because in Toastmasters, we learn through continuous feedback from our peers, from our mentor, from somebody who have been through the journey a bit earlier than us. So today, I will be sharing with you my experience in speech evaluation. It will be about 15 minutes. So how do you do speech evaluation, and how do you compare speech evaluation to our daily lives? Now, the objective, if you look at this open range, this is where you deliver your speech, your current stage of speech delivery. And this is where you can do better, or you can be at your best. So the evaluator duty is to identify your gap one by one. Hopefully, if you have do the pathways 5 to 10 times, if you have delivered 10 speeches in a Toastmaster environment, your speech will be much better than the first one that you delivered maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. So that is the measurement. What is the objective of speech evaluation? It is to help us to reach the next level of communication. A lot of people want to say public speaking. Public speaking. But public speaking to me are more for politicians. They go on stage on the left turn with few thousand audience, and that is what I call public speaking. Communication is more one-to-one, 1 to 10, 1 to 50, 1 to 100. Definitely not more than 1,000 people. So I have a slogan myself. Everyone can communicate. And to communicate, it does not mean we can talk very well. To communicate, it simply means I listen more than I talk. Why listen more? Because we need to listen more so that we can understand what the speaker want to share with us. But a lot of us believe when you have been through the speechcraft session, you can talk a lot. Not true. We learn to listen more than we speak. When we speak, we communicate clearly so that the audience can understand us clearly as well. So this is the objective of my 50 minutes presentation. I like to use the slogan of CARE, which I call K. CARE. C stands for the evaluator must be able to connect with the speaker. Connection. Connect with the speaker and connect with the audience. That is important. Very important. Are we able to connect? That means, do we really address the area where the speaker needs to improve or need to do differently? A stands for appreciate. Appreciate the sharing, appreciate the story, appreciate the speech delivered by the speaker. R stands for when we evaluate, we must evaluate with great respect. So that the next time when the speaker delivers another speech, he becomes a different person. He excels in his next speech. So therefore, that is CARE. Yeah. First one, to connect. We need to use the language of telecommunication. Do not use technical jargons. Do not use academic terminology. Use layman language that everybody can easily understand. For example, if I use academic jargon and say, wow, you have delivered a wonderful structure equation modeling using the G power. Well, a layman will not understand what is structured equation modeling or what is G power. Even if you ask a person with a doctorate degree, ask him what's G power, he will scratch his head. He say, I never learned this before. So don't use that language. Use layman language. Connect so that you can connect with the person. To always appreciate, because the speakers has delivered a speech based on his or her experience. So the evaluator needs to evaluate based on his or her experience, the speaker's experience. Yeah. Why I say we need to respect. Many years ago, in 1990, I joined a Toastmasters club. And I can remember in 1992, I delivered a speech. The evaluator come on board and say, John, your English has a lot of local Chinese accent. You have no future in Toastmasters. Oh my, I was hurt badly. Rona, because of that, I did not join a single Toastmaster Club meeting for 4 years. However, when I was working overseas, that is outside Malaysia, I met a man called Leslie Young. He said, John, you are a Toastmaster. You must be back to Toastmaster Club meeting. He brought me back to a club in Singapore, Bukit Batok Toastmaster Club, where I learned, unlearned, and relearned. I pick up where I stopped 4 years ago, and I continue with my manual speeches. I felt I am a Chinese. Of course, whenever I talk, I carry with a Chinese accent, just like an Indian with an Indian accent. And therefore, I learned during evaluation, we need to respect the individual speaker. Because once we respect the speaker more, the speaker will be able to grow. That is the key. It's not to kill or double kill or overkill the speaker, so that the speaker will excel in his next speech. So if you forget everything I shared with you this morning, you just remember CARE, and this diagram will do. Now, how do you start evaluation? First, for me, I always ask myself, was the speech well organized? If I'm going to do that speech, what I would be doing? So, is the speech well organized? That means have an introduction, body, and conclusion. I always ask, was the opening having attention getting? For example, if I deliver a speech with the title Second Chance, I may start. Do you give yourself a second chance if you fail your first driving test? Or do you give me a second chance if I pronounce a word wrongly? This is asking a question that every members in the audience will begin to think. So asking a question to call attention. The other one is maybe he will start with a quotation. Prosperity begins where gratitude takes roots. This is a very good quotation. Everybody will be start thinking, hey, prosperity, if I want prosperity, I must have gratitude. I must be thankful. I must appreciate others. That leads people to think. For example, they will ask, are TEA priced differently at different venue in Surabaya and in Jakarta? I am sure it is priced differently depending on which venue you are in. If you are in Grand Hyatt in Jakarta and compared to Grand Hyatt in Taipei, the Taipei tea will be more expensive than Grand Hyatt in Jakarta. Why? Because they serve you with music, serve you with pop songs. I live in Grand Hyatt, Jakarta many times, and the tea there were very delicious. So the price was high as compared to the price of tea in Kuching. So you see, these are the few examples of attention grabbing. Or you can start with a demo. If you are talking about Kung Fu fighting, you can demonstrate the Kung Fu fighting. So a speech well organized. Next one. What was the point rest in the speech? Normally in a 5 to 7 minute speech, we gave 3 examples. But to me, 3 would be a little bit too much. 2 will be just nice. So what was the point? Number 1, number 2. Now, did the speech meet the objectives of the project? That is important. If it has not met the objective, how could you help the speaker so that the speaker can prepare a speech that will make the speech objective the next time? Were there well-defined sub-points? For instance, if the speaker is talking about financial saving, yeah, I know Rona is a chartered accountant. If we talk about financial saving, it would be good if the speaker can talk about the percentage by age group and what are their saving amount. That would be good. People will listen more. The next one, those sub-points supported with facts, examples, or data. That is a key. For instance, we say every Chinese New Year, people will have firecrackers in their house. But do you know why Chinese use firecracker? Yeah, I knew. Because those days in 1600 BC, when Chinese New Year, or what we call the Spring Festival, was celebrated in China during the Shang Dynasty, they were an animal called Nian always come out from the jungle because those days were winter and during the Spring Festival, arrival of the spring. And those animals would come to terrorize the village. So in order to chase away this Niam, the animal Niam, they fire firecracker and put red-colored cloth, red-colored decoration in the houses because this chase away the Niam. Yeah. So you must come up with facts. So if it doesn't come up with facts, the evaluator needs to give some example of facts and examples. Now, if the speaker is using PowerPoint, were the slides presented professionally? Meaning which? What is the size of the font? Minimum font size for PowerPoint, it should be font size 32. Are there many wordings in the PowerPoint? Well, as a rule of thumb, one PowerPoint should not have more than 25 words. So you mentioned about that, yeah? So in conclusion, always remember in conclusion, you need to summarize the point you have raised. Write up the point professionally with a summary. You may end with a quotation. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, as said by Confucius. So therefore, this is your first step moving onwards to be a professional communicator. Also mention what the evaluator have learned from that speech the speaker has delivered and call for attention. Did the speaker call for attention? If not, the evaluator can give examples on how the speaker can call for attention. Now, besides this point that I have presented to you, how was the presentation style? Did the speaker use gesture, use eye contact, or the eyes always look up or look somewhere, did not look at you, the audience? How was the speaker's vocal variety? Vocal variety is not only high tone, low tone. No, no, no. If you listen to a person's vocal, you can identify, you can diagnose and analyze whether the speaker has the energy to speak, whether the speaker is sincere enough to share what he has just shared with all of you. So vocal is very important. Another thing about vocal is vocal can be trained so that your vocal will be like Elvis Presley, or your vocal comes from the diaphragm. A lot of speaker, the vocal comes from the chest. That is not the right way. The right way is to breathe using your diaphragm. To breathe in, you talk. When you breathe out, you lower your voice. And also, at what point of your speech you need to pause. Important key points, you pause to emphasize. For instance, will you give me a second chance if I fail to get elected in an election? So where is the emphasis? Emphasis is second chance. I can deliver this way. Maybe I will take 3 more minutes, yeah, Rona? Now, I will deliver another way. Do you give me a second chance if I fail to get elected? Compared to, do you give me a second chance if I fail to get elected? You see the difference? In the second one I shared with you, I stop, I mentioned second chance, and continue. In the first one, it was just one stretch. So, vocal variety has to do with our voice, louder, softer, the pulses, and the energy level of your voice. And the other one, of course, do you use notes? Normally, I never use notes. And Rona knows me very well. If you ask me to deliver a speech, I will only prepare when I am on the stage. And I will only deliver two key points and give examples. So as speaker, as an evaluator, we should always challenge the speaker. I said, Mr. Speaker, please take up this challenge to do your next speech in your next club meeting. During my younger days in Toastmaster, and for your information, I'm a Toastmaster this year, 36 years. I have delivered all the pathways. There were 11 pathways. I have delivered all basic communication and advanced leadership communication many times over. People ask me why I need to deliver speech every time, because I challenge myself to be better the next time when I open my mouth, when I utter a word. So that is my personal challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to practice more, practice communicating, practice evaluation, because practice makes perfect. And in conclusion, I would like to say, the more you are gracious to the audience, the more you are grateful, the more you appreciate the speaker, the better you will be. The more you give through evaluation, the better communicator you will be. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending this speechcraft session conducted by distinguished Toastmaster Rona Wati.